Olá, boa noite. O Exou Biribó, hoje com o vídeo 9 de Chicken Police. Sonny e Marty descobriram o irmão gêmeo do Eben, o Albert, e agora estão no manicômio tentando recolher as informações sobre ele, e já com 1 milhão de teorias na cabeça sobre troca de personalidades entre irmãos gêmeos. Função perguntar disponível. Albert Thaddeus Wesley. Não, perguntar primeiro do manicômio.
What kind of a place is this exactly? I assume it wasn't built as an insane asylum.
It used to be a mansion. Construction started during the occupation in 622. Then it stood empty for almost a century, until finally it went to the crown of Clawville when Hector's great-grandfather took the throne. The rest is history.
How long have you been working here?
I've worked here for more than 30 years, but it's been in my family's possession for almost 150 years.
So if I count correctly, as soon as it went to the crown, it was seized by your family.
That's almost accurate, Mr. Featherland.
What a lovely inheritance.
Albert Thaddeus Wesley.
How long was Albert a resident of the institution?
For quite some time. His first symptoms surfaced in his teens. Depression, panic attacks, and schizophrenia.
Was he brought here immediately after the first signs that something wasn't right?
You know, the biggest problem with an opinion on insanity is that animals are ashamed of it. That's the reason our institution stands out here in the middle of nowhere.
Because animals would rather hide what they're afraid to face.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
As far as I know, the Wessler family wasn't exceptionally wealthy.
Indeed, they were rather poor, but we offer our services gratis.
Then how do you sustain yourselves?
By the grace of the treasury of King Hector III, of course.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
My family and the royal dynasty had always been on good terms, Mr. Santino.
Madame Saivas.
Tell me, Doctor, do you know Madame Zavas?
Just like everybody else, I've heard of her, but I never had the pleasure of meeting her in person. I'm sure she's an interesting case.
Oh, you can be sure about that. I'd gladly get you two together if I had the chance. A spare cell would suit her very much.
Is that so?
As it turns out, she likes small, narrow, secret places.
Oh, I see. What a coincidence.
I have a hard time bearing their proximity. My blood boils and my heart bangs. It's the primordial fear, they say.
Dr. Quetzal, nova informação. A família do professor geriu as instalações do manicômio e a instituição durante mais de 100 anos. Boa história, não? Códice tem novidade. Desde sua fundação, só se intentou conquistar Clawville numa ocasião. A ocupação do meio século começou no ano 622 e durou até 677. Durante dito período, o Império Ahar ficou com o controle de todos os territórios de Clawville, salvo as colônias, que ao final, com a ajuda de Svolasso e Vlavoslavia, puderam recuperar Clawville. Ah, apertando o círculo.
What do you think? Can she hear us up there?
Sonny, stop being so heightist. It's a different world nowadays, you know?
Yeah, okay. Cry me a river.
I'm forever amazed by what an asshole you are.
Sorry, but I still can't believe it's really you.
Neither can we.
You can't imagine how wonderful it is that I can help you in one of your cases. Does this mean it will become a new book? And maybe I will be in it?
Miss, those books aren't really...
Don't even tell me. No, I don't want to know. Let it be a surprise instead.
No, I didn't mean...
Leave it to me, Sonny. I'm good at this. Thank you, miss. Your words are very flattering, and we are honored.
No, I thank you. I'll never forget this day.
We won't either, that's for sure.
We're happy to bring you joy, miss. Anytime.
This picture...
Well, it must have been made by one of the patients, so it's understandable.
It's the handiwork of our director. He's not only a scientist, but he's a great painter, too.
I see.
Well, it's lovely to have a hobby, right?
That's right, Marty.
Ah, já tem interrogar? Eu não vi que abriu interrogar. Indivíduo, Dr. Cecil Quetzalcoatl. O Dr. Quetzal é um autêntico mistério, mas posso usar isso a meu favor. Só hei de centrar-me nas peças mais estranhas do puzzle. Impressões, intrigante. Detectímetro, bem menos que a metade. Então, quando foi internado Albert?
So when did Albert become a resident of your institute?
Albert and Hobart, or Ibn as you call him, arrived here almost exactly 4 years ago.
Could you describe that day, more specifically?
It was not long after New Year's Eve, maybe the first week of the year, if I'm not mistaken. It was sleeting that day. Wind was banging incessantly on the windows. The power was going out for short periods of time.
What was your first impression of them?
I already knew the Wessler name. I knew who they were. Or at least I knew one of them, Hobart Wessler. He was famous. Gangster, moneylender, celebrity, lover.
And Albert?
He was new to me, an invisible grey ghost. The family had tried to keep his existence a secret.
Why?
Because they were ashamed of him, of course, Mr. Featherland. That's how it usually is.
What was your first impression of him?
He was silent, but observed everything that surrounded him. His eyes were constantly moving, never stopped for a second.
Was he afraid?
I wouldn't say so. It seemed to me that he wanted to move into our institution voluntarily. It looked as if he couldn't wait to be here, alone, locked up in silence and darkness.
Didn't you think of that as unusual?
Of course I did, but who am I to judge? It was rather special treatment.
Intrigante e preso a detalhes, mais uma característica. Diga-me, ele foi ameaçado por Ibn Wessler de alguma maneira? Que tipo de tratamento recebeu Albert? O Ibn Wessler o ameaçou de alguma maneira?
Tell me, did Ibn Wessler threaten you in any way?
Oh, he didn't really need to make threats. It wasn't in question. Of course we would treat his brother.
Eu tava pensando de ameaçar o irmão de alguma maneira, não a clínica.
You seem like a professional authority, Doctor. One who is above these power plays. Then why?
First of all, because he's a Wessler. You don't say no to a Wessler. My vocation may come first, but the will to live is even more critical. We reptiles are survivors. On the other hand, I considered Albert to be a very interesting case.
Diminuiu o detectímetro. Ele é intrigante, preso a detalhes e idealista. Crê que ele era uma ameaça para os demais? O que lhe pareceu Albert a primeira vez que o viu? Quais eram exatamente os sintomas da doença de Albert? Como se comunicava Albert com você? Quais eram os sintomas?
What exactly were the symptoms of Albert's illness?
Albert had remarkably strong seizures, Mr. Featherland. He had one every 2 or 3 weeks.
How exactly? Could you describe them for me?
During his seizures, Albert changed. First, he was raving or having conversations with people not in the room. It mostly happened on occasions when it was raining. I never found out what rain had to do with his seizures, but heavy rain seemed to bring some kind of deep-rooted trauma to the surface.
Os ataques são nas noites de chuva, né?
What was he like when he changed?
Oh, he was cold, reserved, and cruel. His most remarkable intelligence still stayed at the forefront, but he was trying to direct it to an entirely different path. He was talking about evil things.
Evil things? Well, that doesn't sound very professional to me, Doctor.
There are some things I can't put any other way, Mr. Featherland.
Mais 5, melhorei. Você está me dizendo que Albert tinha múltiplas personalidades?
Are you telling me Albert had multiple personalities?
We found out very quickly that there was no other reason for the cause of his seizures. He had a cold and calculating personality who sometimes, especially on stormy days, took the reins over their shared mind.
He had these seizures from the beginning.
Yes, Mr. Featherland, but they started to intensify after Albert left our institution for the first time.
He did what? Left the institution? More than once?
Oh, yes, Mr. Featherland. Albert left the institution on several occasions until the last time, when he failed to come back.
Quetzal's not only very observant, but he's addicted to details. I must focus on that if I want to get closer to the truth. Focus. Addicted to details.
Atentar aos detalhes. Intrigante, preso a detalhes, idealista e confuso. Então, Albert podia entrar e sair à sua vontade? Quando e por que Albert abandonou o centro a primeira vez? Como é que você permitiu a Albert sair daqui? Há coisas que você não está me contando, verdade? Ele se liga em detalhes. Qual desses detalhes? Quando e por que Albert abandonou o centro a primeira vez?
When and why did Albert leave the institution for the first time?
It was about 2 years ago. Mr. Hobart Wessler appeared and demanded we let his brother go free. Naturally, we obliged. We had no idea if we'd ever see him again.
But you did.
He returned the same day. Albert was ecstatic. He was unrestrained. I could almost say happy.
That was unusual for him?
I had never seen him like that before, Mr. Featherland. He just smiled and stared at the empty wall for hours.
Did he ever tell you what happened to him outside?
Of course he did. Albert and I had a good relationship. He was working on a painting for his brother.
Was it a painting of a lovely lady cat?
Oh, exactly. So you already knew about that.
Yes, Dr. Quetzal, I've seen it.
Mais 10 no detectímetro. Confuso. Albert lhe falou alguma vez de Natasha? Então, Albert saiu em várias ocasiões para seguir com o quadro, correto? Lhe contou Albert como se sentia a respeito do quadro? Lhe contou algo Albert acerca de sua relação com seu irmão? Suyan? Albert lhe falou alguma vez de Natasha?
Has Albert ever talked to you about Natasha?
Only in superlatives, as if he wasn't talking about a real person, but an ethereal being, about an angel or a demon, something that is not of this world.
And what did you think about his fantasies?
We are in an institution where almost everyone is hallucinating on a daily basis, Mr. Featherland. It didn't really bother me, but the fluctuations of positive and negative were more disturbing.
Thanks, Doc. I didn't understand a word, but I think I get the point.
Diminuiu 10, ficou pior ainda. Então, Albert saiu várias ocasiões para seguir com o quadro, correto?
So Albert left on many occasions to continue working on the painting.
Exactly, Mr. Featherland. Every time he came back, he was like a different person. But unfortunately, his seizures also multiplied and became more dangerous.
More dangerous?
Albert was hurting himself, and on one occasion he even tried to hurt me. It was unprecedented. It seemed his confined personality was taking over their shared mind entirely, piece by piece.
Do you think the painting caused it?
Not the painting, Mr. Featherland.
But its subject.
Exactly. He was obsessed, right until that fateful day when he returned to us for the last time.
What exactly happened that day, Doctor?
It wasn't Hobart who brought his brother back that day, but two of his gorillas. Not literally, I mean. And Albert was in a terrible, terrible state.
What happened to him?
I don't like to talk about that, Mr. Featherland.
It could be vital to the case, Dr. Quetzal. Don't back down.
Oh, you're right. There's no use turning back now. So, Albert's tongue was torn out, or cut off, I don't know exactly, and he was blinded in one eye, or rather, one of his eyes was missing entirely.
So you're saying Albert was brought back horribly mutilated?
Yes. And they didn't give any explanation as to what had happened. They simply told me it was some kind of accident.
Dr. Quetzal is cold and professional, but he's also very confused. Maybe it's cruel, but I must exploit his vulnerability if I want to learn everything about Albert. Focus, confused.
Pode que não seja fácil falar disso, mas examinou a fundo as feridas? Não creio que você não acreditou que fosse um acidente, verdade? Podia descrever os tipos que trouxeram Albert? Examinou a fundo as feridas?
Maybe it's not easy for you to talk about it, but did you examine his wounds thoroughly?
I'm not that kind of doctor, Mr. Featherland, but even I could determine his tongue was either cut out or bitten off, and his eye was gouged out. He also had several broken bones.
But there's no doubt it wasn't an accident.
I don't believe it was, Mr. Featherland.
I totally agree.
Ganhou 10 pontos. Sente-se, doutor. O que você crê que ocorreu a Albert?
Concentrate, Doctor. What do you think happened to Albert?
I'm sure it was Hobart. He ordered his men to mutilate poor Albert.
But why would he do that?
Maybe Albert saw something he could accidentally reveal.
To whom? The four walls? A couple of crazies? You?
To anyone, Mr. Featherland.
I don't think it's that simple, Doctor. But thank you for your honest opinion.
You're welcome, Detective.
Mais 20. E o que aconteceu depois? Como desapareceu Albert?
What happened then? How did Albert disappear?
A few weeks later, Hobart came to visit Albert one more time. Albert had been in terrible condition by then. We even had to transfer him to another cell, a more safe one.
What did Hobart do during the visit?
He didn't do anything. He just sat and watched his brother, who was in an almost vegetative state by then.
Couldn't you manage to draw anything out of him? You or Hobart?
Nothing. For a while he was trying to signal something. Perhaps he was too afraid. And most likely his fingers had been broken too, so he couldn't even write.
Do you think Hobart could have killed Albert?
It's horrible to say it, but I'm sure of it.
How did he disappear in the end? Did someone come for him?
That's what's most eerie about it all, Mr. Featherland. He simply disappeared. His door, which only I had a key for, was open.
Did anyone see anything?
No one. We interrogated the staff, even the patients. He simply vanished off the face of the wilderness. We don't know what happened to him.
Copião da Tigu.
Unfortunately, I have a hunch. Thank you, Doctor. You've been a great help.
Oh, well, I'm glad I could be of help. But please, I now must attend to my work.
We understand, Doctor. Thank you.
60% de acerto. Pista importante. Albert Weisler desapareceu. Temos uma corosonada sobre o que pode haver ocorrido. Temos uma ideia? Alguma confusão? Continuar. 4 informações novas. Pistas. Albert Weisler desapareceu. Temos uma corosonada sobre o que pode haver-lhe ocorrido. Sujeitos. Ibn. Informação. O mais seguro é que Ibn matou seu próprio irmão Albert Weisler e mandou Zip desfazer-se do corpo. Ou ao menos, isso é o que parece mais provável por enquanto. Informação, Dr. Quetzal é frio, reservado, extremamente profissional em seu âmbito, ainda que o que passou a Albert lhe fez dar um respingo, inclusive nele. Nada surpreendente, suponho. Albert, mais uma informação. Ibn, o irmão de Albert, o sacou do instituto em várias ocasiões para pintar esse funesto retrato de Natasha. Creio que temos o móvel do crime, senhores, o motivo do crime. O motivo, a adorável Natasha.
That's quite shocking information.
I think you understand why we kept it a secret. If it wasn't for Mr. Wessler's demand, we'd never let any of our patients walk freely outside our institution.
Then the accident happened.
Accident? Ha! We didn't believe it, not for a second. After Albert came back to us, horribly mutilated, he was different.
Different how?
If someone got one of his eyes poked out and his tongue torn out, he'd be different, but not like this. Albert was a different person.
E eles ainda não desconfiaram do que aconteceu? A Bá e eu já matamos essa charada desde que apareceu a história do irmão gêmeo.
We believe you, Doctor. So, can we take a look at Albert's cell?
I'd rather call it his room. Mr. Wessler lived in exceptional circumstances.
Thanks to the Wessler name, I guess.
Yes. Well, we try to make all of our patients stay as comfortable as possible, but Albert certainly enjoyed special favoritism.
I hope you don't mind if we take a look around in there.
That's not going to bother anyone.
Well, that's, surprising.
I've never seen a cell like this before, that's for sure. I wouldn't mind living here myself.
It seems that being a Wessler gets you privileges.
And a healthy dose of danger.
Mostly that, yeah. Let's take a good look around. I'm sure we'll find some answers here. I can almost smell them.
Well, I smell paint, ink, plaster, some kind of oil, aging paper, slight smell of rat, and great expectations.
What the dickens?
Unmistakable. Yeah.
This place is bad for you, pal. But if you've already jump-started your beak holes, then sniff out the solution.
I'm on it, Boss Bird.
Tem peças de xadrez aqui na mesa? Não. Saleiro e pimenteiro? Não. Tem sim, jogo de xadrez aqui. Acho que é esse que as meninas me deram. E eles roubaram aqui no jogo. Um montão de papéis.
Scribbles, newspaper articles, study papers, poems. Perfect chaos.
Just like the troubled mind of a troubled fella.
Yeah, but there's still a kind of order in it. It's just too intricate for you to comprehend.
If you say so, boss.
Carta de Albert.
Look at that. A letter.
Novo objeto. Nas peças de xadrez ele não quer mexer. Foto da família Wesley.
Identical twins. And looking at it, they may have easily loved the same woman. 2 men and 1 woman. Nothing good ever comes of that.
Well, I wouldn't say that exactly.
Of all the wild ones, Marty, please, stitch up your beak, okay?
Just use your imagination, old bird.
Ih, cadê a foto? Ele pegou pro inventário, pra mala?
Identical twins. And looking at it, they may have easily loved the same woman. Albert was madly in love with Natasha and would have done anything for her. I'm afraid he did exactly that.
Deixar pouco aqui para que a Bai, quem mais entende inglês, dê uma olhada na carta.
What do you make of this?
Apart from the fact the guy was totally insane? I don't know. What should I?
That maybe we've been chasing the wrong person all this time, Marty.
Ah, agora eles estão sacando as coisas.
What do you mean?
Everything will be revealed soon.
Why do you have to be so melodramatic all of a sudden?
If I'm right, this'll flip the whole case upside down.
What's that, Sonny? A blurb from some horrible novel?
I just have to think things through before I come to any hasty conclusions, Marty.
Ugh, you're killing me. So, what now? Where to?
Back to Clawville, where we can finally put all the pieces together.
You're driving me crazy. But all right, let's go home.
Nova pista. Albert se enamorou de Natasha perdidamente. Será esse o motivo por que alguém quis matá-lo? Posso me despedir ou vou perguntar mais alguma coisa?
So, detectives, have you found what you were looking for?
I'm afraid we have, Doctor. And more.
I wouldn't dare to say I'm happy to hear it, but I'm glad to be of service to you.
Well, thanks, Doc.
I hope I don't offend you by saying I hope we're not going to meet anytime soon.
Not on account of either of our jobs, am I right?
Exactly.
O único local agora é o Hotel Atlas.
Oh, I don't believe this. Those two again?
Take him out. My car won't last much longer.
Don't worry, Sonny. I was born to do this.
Você morreu. Conseguiram um indício. O que é isso? Não nos fazem falta mais cadáveres, verdade? Dispara no carro, não nos ocupantes, cabeça de chorlito. Mas eu não estou sendo cabeça de chorlito hoje, eu estou disparando só no carro. Se você se esconde, reduz as possibilidades de que disparem. Saco de penas. Também estou me escondendo e não está adiantando. Tente sobreviver, é o melhor que você pode fazer. Ah, bom. Boa indicação essa.
Concentrate, Marty, for the God's sake.
Can you drive like you're not a fucking lunatic?
Shut up and shoot, you big feather pillow.
É difícil com esse controle que não obedece.
blind or what? Where did you learn to shoot?
Chorlito.
Well, that was close.
A little too close for my taste, and it only strengthens my belief. Wessler is desperate. He knows if we survive, he's done for.
Well, come on, what did you work out? Will you tell me already?
Sure. Let's put the picture together, piece by piece. Let's start from the beginning. So, we got a case.
Viu? Estão roubando todas as frases da família aí. Agora ele disse demasiado para o meu gosto. Como sempre diz aquela que jamais disse isso. Comecemos pelo princípio. Nos trouxeram um caso. Nos encomendam um caso. Sim, tem que ser isso. Um pedaço de quadro é o começo de tudo. Não é. Um pedaço de quadro eles foram descobrir bem depois. Ele quer fazer uma reconstituição toda fora de ordem. Um pedaço de quadro tinha a ver com a Natasha. Isso. Natasha tentou manter esse quadro em segredo e que não o víssemos. Natasha queria que encontrássemos o quadro para ela. Não, o quadro já estava com ela. Natasha necessitava destruir o quadro para ocultar o que ocorreu a Albert Wesley. Natasha tentou mostrar-nos o quadro, é isso.
Natasha tried to show us the painting.
Aí tem a foto da família. Sim, é isso.
And that painting would have shown us the way.
E esse quadro nos mostrou o caminho. Até o esconderijo secreto de Albert Wesley. Temos que encontrá-lo. Até o cadáver de Albert Wesley, que obviamente já é história, graças a Zip. Até Ibn e Albert Wesley. Albert pintou a Natasha assim que se reuniu com ela em mais de uma ocasião. Até o manicômio, onde pudemos averiguar que Ibn matou a Albert porque sabia do quadro. Não. Até Ibn e Albert Wesley. Albert pintou a Natasha assim que se reuniu com ela mais de uma ocasião.
To Ibn and Albert Wessler. Albert painted Natasha, so he met her on more than one occasion.
Sim, tem que ser isso.
Which made Albert...
O que fez Albert escapar do manicômio para viver como um lunático nos bosques obscuros das imediações. Não. Se enamorar de Natasha e escapar do manicômio até um esconderijo secreto que ainda temos que encontrar. Pode ser. Se enamorasse de Natasha e numa noite fatídica matara seu irmão para ocupar seu lugar em segredo e conquistar Natasha. Sim. Matar-se a seu irmão, ocupar o seu lugar e forçar Natasha a inventar essa história das ameaças. Não. Daí era só ela não dizer nada que a coisa ia dar certo. Se enamorasse de Natasha e numa noite fatídica matar o seu irmão, ocupar o seu lugar em segredo e tentar conquistar Natasha.
Fall in love with Natasha. And on a fateful night, he killed his brother so he could take his place in secret and win Natasha's heart.
So what happens now?
Caso encerrado, eu cliquei antes de aparecer. Então, o que vem agora?
The inevitable, Marty. We're going to the Wessler mansion to confront Ibn with the facts.
You mean Albert, right?
Yeah, exactly. And of course, Natasha.
Enfrentar a Natasha? Mas ela não é vítima. Ela procurou para entregar o plano do Albert.
Do you think she knew about it?
Something stinks, Marty. The whole case seems too intricate.
Too many coincidences, right?
Well, after 10 years, you did learn something, didn't you?
9.
You're right.
Huh.
What?
You just laughed, Sonny.
What? No, I snorted.
No, you laughed.
Just leave it, Marty.
Isso é pior do que espirrar, rir.
I'll be telling this to my grandchicks.
All right, pal, that's enough.
Okay. So, Albert fell madly in love with Natasha and decided to have her for himself.
And his best chance was to trade places with Ibn Wessler.
So that's why the torn out tongue.
Yeah, Ibn couldn't squeal even if he wanted to.
What a diabolical plan.
More like insane.
But why the messages then? Why the threats? Albert got what he wanted. He could have got away with it.
I'm not a psychologist, Marty, but remember what the doctor told us. Albert has a seriously injured mind and a split personality. I think his two identities were at war with each other.
So the messages were written by one of his personalities, consumed by jealousy?
Something like that, Marty, but we can only learn the whole truth from him.
You're right. So, are we going or what?
We're going, Marty, to finally finish what we started.
Well, if there's anything you'd like to do before, do it now, boss. You won't have a chance later.
You're right, Marty. It's time to wrap everything up.
Então é isso. Hoje vamos parando por aqui. O Exou Biribó, agradecendo a presença, o apoio, as dicas, a torcida, desejando boa noite até amanhã. Por enquanto eu fui.